Spontaneous.
And we're live, I think. Should be.
Hopefully.
Starting.
It's on YouTube?
Yeah.
This on the YouTubes, the boobs.
Yeah, you are.
Yep.
Yeah, woo!
I love your
introduce
title
ourselves.
for
Nice, nice title.
Thank you.
I literally don't have a computer, so I don't know what it is.
Oh,
Angry Toonami fan noises.
But the quote is in the wrong place.
fixed it.
Ah.
It's hard to see because, like, I have white text, and the text box is also white, so I can only see, like, the outlines, the soft drop shadow.
Yeah, that could be a problem.
Things happen, but so I have some things to get off my chest. I feel like,
And I tacitly invited myself. Should we
Yeah, you
introduce
did.
ourselves first?
Might help.
So I'm Caboose Jr., and with me I have
My name's Jose. I work, and I actually do have to put a disclaimer. I do work for Turner Broadcasting, but I work at CNN. I don't work with Toonami. And none of my opinions represent the network or company. And neither does anybody else's that you'll hear here. So that's that.
Good job.
second we have Corey,
Yep, that's me.
my anime waifu, everyone's anime waifu.
No, he's my anime waifu.
Yeah.
It's in the name.
So, and we got Sketch,
Yo.
and then Colt, who just snuck in last second.
Well, because Skype's an asshole and doesn't bother sending me the ringtone. So I check my Skype. Oh, there's the phone call. Shit, hit the button.
Well, I mean, yesterday I was like, I got some things I want to talk about, and then suddenly everyone's all like inviting themselves. I'm like, whatever.
Hey. I asked if you would be okay
Yeah,
with
I
me
am
dying.
okay with it. I'm just saying, we had a nice turnout.
Well, yeah, because like I haven't spoken about Toonami in a really long time because I've been working on stuff. I actually working with Toonami, but doing I kind of got nostalgic with the podcast, so I was like, this is neat.
I just saw the tweet from Darrell, and I'm just like, are you interested in other people? If not, I can just lurk in chat.
There you go. And Paul can't benefit from this because this is my thing.
Paul's working right now, anyway.
Yeah, he is. I mean, I invited
Does
everybody.
he still work in a theater?
I think so.
That's one of his jobs, yes.
Ah.
I didn't know he had another job.
Yes. He is currently working at the theater in a manner that gives him a lot more responsibility, but a lot less. Well, it's
a lot less time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
A lot more responsibility and not a bunch of extra pay. Yeah, how it
Oh,
is.
that sucks. Those jobs are never fun. Well, unless he's having a great time, in which case, yay. I don't know. I haven't spoken to Paul in like forever.
We need to get you back on the podcast one time, just for like an old time sake thing.
Yeah, it'd be neat, but like I'm so freaking busy. Like I don't even have much time today because I have a party to go to after this.
Oh, I have to go to work.
That's
after
fun.
This. Yeah, I did invite him for our Lupin conversation, but that he was not available.
I was invited to two. I was actually also invited to Toonami Squad's Lupin thing, and I was not. I was not available. So shows you how busy I am these days.
Yep.
So I want to start the rant thing, Caboose?
So, yeah, let's... So, I feel like the Toonami faithful, in general, just needs to take a chill pill for a bit.
Let's put a finger quotes around the faithful part.
Yeah.
Like, we're in a dry spell. Like, there's not much going on. I get that. I understand that. I mean, that's what happens when there's just so many long-running shows on the block, and you can't make a new cartoon every day.
There aren't that many. One's going to end in a few weeks.
Gundam
That's
IPO
true.
ends in April, at the end of April. I think Kai is around June and JoJo's
Kai-
around July.
Kai will end in June. JoJo will end on August 18th.
Really? My math was off.
Yeah, well, that's if you take into account their usual marathons.
Oh, true.
Marathon.
Don't get me started on marathon. Well, I mean, I don't have a problem with marathons. It's just a lot of other people have issues
I don't
with
have
marathons
problems with
because
marathons. It's just what marathons they do, or the timing of said marathons compared to what it's currently on. But that relates to a whole other issue.
I wish they would have done a Lupin marathon, but I'm biased.
Yeah, me too.
I would have been fine with that.
I would
I gotta ask you a
have
question.
thoroughly enjoyed it.
Lupin marathon versus Bebop marathon.
Lupin.
Oh, don't do this to me. Oh, that's so not fair.
I've seen Bebop plenty of times.
I would rather have a Lupin marathon. Although
Bebop's
I
my
like that they
favorite
did a
show of all
Bebop
time,
marathon.
though.
That was
But I worked on
Yeah.
Lupin, so that's really hard.
though
I was
people
just
were
hoping to
thinking
have a Toonami Bebop promo for once because they've never done one before.
I guess because Bebop has run so many times, I'm gonna side with Lupin, but I'm not opposed to Bebop marathons. I wish they would have done a Lupin marathon.
Yeah.
I'm sure I don't know the details of the contract, but I'm sure there was like
Bebop
something
was
in there was
published.
like probably a one-time run.
right. I mean, same thing with like Outlaw Star. Like people were upset that Outlaw Star. I've seen people think that Outlaw Star was mistreated. I wholeheartedly disagree.
I would have preferred like a half hour higher, but that's me. But given the fact that it was an older rerun where they stuck it at was totally fine. Ratings wise,
there was-
about what I expected.
mhm.
There was only one premiere of that entire show, and that was episode 23. So
Which probably should have aired that late anyway.
Mhm.
Yeah.
actually, it was so funny, like finding all the old Cartoon Network edits and then watching that episode, and you're just like, oh man, things have changed so much.
I just found it funny when it was like, okay, they do the whole thing, and then they get to the one scene with Aisha, and it's just, okay, so what was the edit? Oh yeah, her nipples got removed. I'm just sitting there going, wow, we have changed a lot in years, haven't we?
Yeah, because they probably would have retouched some of those bathing suits. Back in the
Oh,
old
more
Cartoon
than
Network
likely.
days.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because
because
it was like, all these years, way back then, nope, can't air it. Now, just, scribble out the nipples and we're totally fine.
even back in 2012, they just mosaicked a character, and I think it was Tenchi.
Yeah,
They had the mosaic of characters, so they're not even doing that anymore. It's
Uh-huh.
crazy.
which I think I personally I think I'd prefer that they rather mosaic it because it just looks weird.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. No nipples looks deformed and strange.
Tell the
Yeah.
Kill la Kill animators.
Yes, agreed.
Yeah.
Nipples, what are those? Somebody has those.
Well, I mean, they're also doing the whole, well, we have to censor it for broadcast, and then they're just like, oh, we don't care enough to add them back in.
Fine. Either way. Continue, Caboose.
Yeah. Marathons? Oh, wait, was I?
We're talking about ratings.
Yeah,
right.
we dragged the conversation away.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Like every other podcast ever
Is
done.
Paul in here? I think Paul's in here.
The spirit of
I
Paul is confusing
Hope
us right
Skriller's
now.
not here.
So
I would honestly start by saying, this is just me, as I said before. What I would probably start the whole rant beforehand would be is, what are you defining as ratings obsession?
right.
Mhm.
I feel like the over obsession on like worrying about the ratings from every week, like trying to compare, like, oh, this did that and that did that, but this did that last year. I'm like, just the landscape of TV has changed. You don't even see the whole picture like that's shown.
Mhm.
And
Well, how much can you say about this, Jose? As far as the way television has gone ratings-wise?
Well, I'm not really super paying attention to Toonami's ratings, to be honest.
I mean, television in general.
But television in general, like, it depends on what the content is, honestly. Like, I know Adult Swim in general is doing very well because they have a very engaged fan base, even though their numbers might not be as big. But the numbers they do have in the parts where it counts, they have them in spades. CNN, for example, we're doing great in our demographics. We're beating out MSNBC in the demo. Now, I think we're actually even beating Fox News in the demo. We're just not winning in total viewers. So, it depends on what you're looking at and what engagement you want to get. And one of the unique things we have over at CNN is that we have the youngest audience of any of the cable networks, any of the cable news networks. We are number one in 18 to 34, but our advertisements are definitely geared more towards older viewers, and Fox has probably a lot more older viewers. So it depends on what you're looking for and what you want. And the industry right now is going through a lot of change in terms of just like cord cutting. It's a reality that's happening. The over-the-top streaming services that are coming to replace that, such as DirecTV Now and Sling, are affecting the numbers. And we're in this weird transition period. I think I said this on the Xanon Canada podcast last year. We're in the weird transition period where everything's kind of an experiment. We don't know what people are going to want, but I think the best thing about it is that it's all going to be very much consumer driven, because for those of you that are, Corey, you're like me, you also subscribe to DirecTV Now, right?
Yeah, I have that.
Yeah, so it's been great.
Yeah,
I've enjoyed it a lot. I'm in the beta with the DVR, but the cool thing
I've
about
I've got the beta as well. I only get 20 hours though.
Yeah, I only get 20 as well. I know some of the earlier beta guys got 100, which...
Oh, okay.
Oof, 20 hours of DVR is nothing.
Yeah, I know.
But that's why it's beta.
That's why it's in beta. But the thing with Sling and all those guys is that we followed the Netflix model of subscribe when you want to. So now there's probably the cable contract is going to go away, where you have to sign up for 2 years or face an early termination fee. We're not going to make you go get hardware because the Apple TV or the Roku that you have in your house is going to get constantly updated. And they have support teams of software that are constantly updating that thing to make it more modern and usable for more audiences. So no matter what, I think the concept of linear television is not going away, because formats like
you can't watch sports on demand, even though some people do.
Yeah, you can try, but it's kind of like spoilery, because it's hard to avoid that. Cable news works best. Like news in general works best in a linear fashion, especially when something is unfolding live. And I think that there is something to be said for content like what's on Turner Classic Movies, where they have this introduction and this element of surprise that you know something's coming and you can all plan to watch something at once. So I don't think the format of linear television is going anywhere, but the delivery method probably will be changing.
I mean, people watch live streams on Twitch. They watch live esports online. So
yeah, and they're watching live esports on TBS. It's doing tremendously well on TBS. So and ESPN. So people care about. People don't really care if it's like legacy cable or whatever. It just matters, I think, how it's delivered and how it's presented, and linear television can be a great thing for a lot of content. It doesn't have to all be on-demand streaming. That relating to the ratings. I felt like I went on a tangent there. Sorry. That relating to the ratings, though.
It's a good tangent.
I think that look, I am partially to blame for I think some of the ratings obsession, because back in the old podcast days, we were fresh.
We are all to blame. We are all to blame.
Totally
Oh, yeah.
It is our cross to bear.
We bear responsibility in creating that environment because we were ratings obsessed. To be blunt, we were very afraid. The memory of 2008 for a lot of us was very fresh. That we did not want to lose the block again, and it can be something that can be lost through something like that. So we, I totally take responsibility in my shoveling onto that fire and creating that culture. But today, Adult Swim's a very different network than what Cartoon Network was. They clearly have a passion for it. They do love it, and it's doing well. And it's run by people who care and love this content. And they seem
and it
to have
starts
a
at
lot of
10:30
plans.
now.
Right.
Yeah. I think they're willing to take more risks on stuff like, making a Fooly Cooly 2. Even back when they made IGPX, they were doing something not as risky, but Fooly Cooly 2, which is a huge follow-up show, that's even more risky than I think Space Dandy and
totally agree on that.
and IGPX. So I think content-wise we're doing well, and ratings will bear out if people do want more original content, and I don't think we need to be as obsessed with it though on our end as fans. Like we're not in programming. I even worked for Turner, and I wasn't concerned about Lupin's ratings. I was more concerned about introducing it to a different audience, and I knew that Toonami had a very different audience than what Discotheque's typical audience was, which is why I pushed really hard to get it on the air. And
I remember that conversation that we had, Jose. I was like, where do you think they should put Lupin? And you're like, I think maybe 3 a.m. would be good for Lupin. I was like, 3 a.m.?
Nope, you got 2 a.m.
I got 1:30. I got
1:30.
Yeah.
Yeah, at 1:30 one point.
It's definitely good enough.
Because I knew that Toonami fans, they're not Discotheque fans, so a lot of them. The Discotheque fan, as I've grown to know them, tends to be older, tends to be a little more affluent in terms of like money. And with Toonami, I know that I can present a show like Lupin to an audience that is much younger, and if I get that audience in there as well, we can start introducing some of these older titles to younger audiences, such as some of Lupin the Third's other adventures, or some of Lupin the Third, or some other stuff from Discotheque like Robot Carnival, which we had a huge push for. Being able to harness that audience on Toonami, I think, was a big important point, which is why I'm going to be pushing for Lupin Part 5 if we ever get it.
It's open.
I honestly would expect Lupin 5 if you guys can get it at some point for the block.
Yeah. So I'm not involved in the talks of Lupin Part 5. I am doing other Lupin stuff that I can't talk about. I can say I'm working on Gold Babylon. That's about it. But if we're gonna put anything Lupin on Toonami, it has to be new. It can't be some of the older stuff.
Yeah.
Put the Pink Jacket series on.
Oh. Subtitles.
They've done it. They've managed to pull it off before. We got that on April Fools.
We officially have a precedent for subtitles, so why not?
I still kind of feel sorry for Gundam IBO, but that's me on that night.
Oh gosh, imagine if instead of a mind game they played Robot Carnival.
Well, they've done it before.
Yes. Oh, those were the days. I wasn't watching Cartoon Network in those days, but man, they did some crazy stuff.
I personally would love to get Robot Carnival on Turner Classic Movies Underground, but to my knowledge, Discotheque doesn't have the broadcast rights.
That's usually the case with Discotheque, isn't it?
Yeah, Discotheque doesn't pick up. Usually, Discotheque now has been better about picking up web streaming rights, but it's usually like hard home video, and that's it. So that's what happened with Lupin Part 3. We didn't have the streaming rights. We didn't have the broadcast rights either. We were just the ones who made that connection happen, because apparently Jason tried to get Lupin Part 3 or Part 4, excuse me, and it didn't. They couldn't get in contact with anybody. So Discotech kind of made the bridge for that to be possible.
Okay.
Which is why we're not credited and we don't have a logo because we don't have the rights. It's not our show.
Yeah, TMS has a logo.
TMS has a logo on it, and it's their credits, but not ours.
Yeah, how's that IMDb?
Yeah, I'm a producer on Lupin the Third, along with the Japanese producer.
Nice.
It's just like, who added that? Okay, whatever.
That's neat.
But I think we don't need to worry about ratings. Like I was perfectly like I did look over some of Lupin's ratings, but like I was perfectly happy with it because I knew that I was getting an audience that I would have never reached through any other means that Discotech uses. So, yeah, it was a definite benefit, and that's the thing. And I know that the Funimation streamer or the Crunchyroll streamer or the Netflix streamer might not find that show either. Toonami gives it a real spotlight, and there's value in that. And as long as there is value in that, I think Toonami's going to be fine.
Yeah, like a show on linear TV will get much more exposure.
Yeah, like basically the big animes that come out of Netflix, the ones that get the biggest exposure are their original series because they're the ones that they put at the top of the page when they come out for like a day or so. So, when Devilman Crybaby came out, like people went gaga over it because it was like the top thing because Netflix wanted you to know about it. But if we were to put Lupin the Third Part 4 on Netflix, it's not a Netflix original. It probably would have been buried under the anime section and probably nobody would have ever known about it.
They barely license anything that isn't directly them.
Hey guys, Tiger and Bunny is on Netflix? Yeah? You didn't?
Yeah,
I wonder why.
With all the logos removed.
Yeah. Which is weird because they have the advertisement, the logos, for those of you that have the Apple TV app of Netflix, if you just leave the running trailer, the version with the logos plays. It's so weird.
Yeah, doesn't make sense.
Yeah. But yeah, most of what they license now is like, it's either going to be, like they got Full Metal Alchemist back, but then it's because they exclusively got that live action movie. And then they just licensed that.
They licensed Death Note as well.
Yeah, but they also did that movie. They did that. They just licensed, it was The Disastrous Life of.
Whoa. No. Psyche K,
and it's being speculated now. It's because they directly licensed the new season.
Yeah.
Hopefully they get it dubbed.
Basically, anything that
they dub everything.
That's true. It's anything that they get their hands on is going to get priority over whatever we license to them. And and it's kind of the same thing on Crunchyroll or Funimation. Like, they obviously Funimation licenses everything themselves for their streaming service, and Crunchyroll to an extent, but like we're not gonna even there. I think we wouldn't have gotten the same attention for Lupin that we would have on Toonami, and that's why I think it being a shorter block and it being a curated block really drives home how special it is and how effective it is to get your series on there and really do some wonderful things for it, just marketing wise.
Oh, I agree.
And even if cable television, like the technology of cable television, goes away, I think that the network of Adult Swim will remain, and that will still be a valuable commodity for a lot of anime because Adult Swim is a very mainstream brand, Toonami is a very mainstream brand, and they don't just pick up anything.
There's something of value to a curated experience. Like, how many times are you sitting there with your Netflix queue and you're like, should I watch this? Maybe I'll watch this. And then you just spend like a half hour trying to decide what to watch. I mean, it seems kind of stupid that you need to be spoon-fed shows sometimes, but sometimes it's just helpful. You would check out shows that you wouldn't normally check out just because they're right in front of you and it's easy.
That's kind of like why radio hasn't died, even though everyone's like, well, everybody just streams their own music or downloads from iTunes or whatever. Like,
Well, to be
people
fair,
like a curated experience.
to be fair, 2 major radio companies just went bankrupt.
One of them is not Sirius, right?
No, iHeart is one,
Oh, right.
and
iHeart did
and
good.
Cumulus Media is the other.
Okay.
There's still
So, yeah,
plenty out.
Yeah, the number
there's
1
still-
and number 3 companies went bankrupt. Sean Hannity's radio employer is bankrupt.
Oof.
The number 1 and the number 3?
Yeah.
Wow. Is
Go
Sirius
Clear
number
Channel.
2?
I think they're number 2.
No, Clear Channel is iHeart. They're bankrupt.
Oh, I thought they were separate companies. I don't remember.
No, they changed their name a few years ago to distance themselves from that old name because they launched the iHeartRadio app.
Yeah.
So they changed their name to iHeartMedia, but that's Clear Channel, and they are bankrupt.
Clearly, I don't know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Number 2 is Entercom, who recently bought CBS Radio.
Huh.
Well, but I think my point was more just like people like a curated experience, and
Mm-hmm.
maybe not free radio, but like Sirius XM seems to be doing all right.
They are subscription
Local
driven.
radio still exists.
And local radio does still exist. Like, a decade plus after the digital music revolution, like people are still listening to the radio. So, I'm not saying that things aren't in dire straits, but people still listen to the radio.
Yeah,
Guys, people
You can
still
literally-
read the physical newspaper sometimes.
I know. We just got ours delivered.
But yeah. If I could get Banyanya on Toonami, then I'd.
Ooh,
I'm
there you
set.
go.
There you go.
That,
feel like-
that would qualify as
That-
confusing to viewers.
That would
Uh-huh.
be outside of their comfort zone.
You could marathon the whole thing, honestly, and wouldn't waste that much time.
You go.
Yeah.
They should just do that one night. Just for
There's like 13 episodes, and they're all like 3 minutes long, so it'd be like, what, an hour maybe? Like, if that.
39 minutes? Yeah.
30,
Yeah.
like one time slot, done.
just do that on a day in December when they're trying to buffer between shows because one show's ending too soon.
Oh heck! I
There you
mean,
go.
if you're gonna pull the jokes with the 5-minute series, what was it? Funimation just got Ai Tenchi Moyo finally, and that's 65-minute episodes. Just throw that on in December and see the people lose their minds. It'll do just fine. Just watch everyone be entirely confused as to why this is on.
It's not a bad idea.
But yeah, sorry, Caboose, what was it?
It's-
So,
It's all
this
good.
whole
Tangents.
thing?
Tangents. Ratings.
Tangents.
Ratings.
Ratings.
Really, it's mostly just me being pissed off at like
Overreactionism.
overreactions about like the programming and their decisions.
You
I mean-
need to stop reading the ratings threads on the
Oh, God,
subreddit.
I do. It's not like there's some people that just I'm like no.
There's all these people that just have a
No.
Johnson in their mouth.
Yeah.
Oof.
I've only recently started reading some of this stuff, and I sit there and go on the Reddit and just like, I could reply to this, but I just don't feel it's necessary. I mean, my
Right.
only two
Not-
major problems with it has been the lack of diversity across the block as a whole.
Oh
And,
sure.
and then usually if I do bring up the ratings, it's mostly because of like large noticeable trends that I've seen, similar to what happened with like Black Clover's demos in some cases, and then what I called the larger problem of what they did with Samurai Jack season 5.
Well, yeah,
Well,
rerunning
I mean-
something right at the top of the block, probably not.
Yeah, I mean they learned. I mean they learned not
Which
to
is
do that.
not what they're doing with FLCL. Not yet, anyway.
No,
I
I-
hope they don't.
I don't think
Yeah, they'll rerun it at
FLCL.
11:30.
Yeah, I don't think it'll do terrible.
I'm not
Look,
expecting.
I
it to
think
be
it'll be. I
terrible.
think it'll be fine. Like it. I feel like it should be at at a decent time slot and not like
I agree.
all the
Oh,
way
no,
at the
I agree
end.
with that, but
Uh-huh.
my problem with it is it's that with the way Jason has been explaining stuff on Twitter, and this is purely just some assumptions on my part to make this part clear. It's when he says the word, we're gonna treat it like a network priority. My heart kind of sinks because I sit there and go, okay, I'm I don't like the idea of the reruns being up that high, but I get the whole building the hype thing. But then my brain just kind of goes, don't rerun it immediately after the fact with season 2, please. Just I get what you're gonna try to do, but there's been other situations where you've done that and it just hasn't done well. So I really don't want them to constantly repeat the same mistake over and over again just because, hey, we really, really like this show and we have the opportunity to air it, and then it just collapses on themselves. I mean, I'll be frank, I'm very surprised after what happened with Jack when the rerun started, we didn't lose a half an hour.
Didn't we?
No, we lost nothing.
They temporarily lost a half hour, and then they were like, no, you can have it back. Well, I mean, it was weird, because it lost a half hour, and then I think it just shifted, actually.
I want to say...
They shifted everything up.
Yeah, they like shifted everything down, and then they shifted everything up.
It was weird, because they just
added
kind of moved
Black Clover.
They just moved the Samurai Jack rerun to the end of the block, but it wasn't part of Toonami. That was always the part. I was like,
yeah. They just didn't bother making bumpers, which I thought was kind of lazy, but whatever.
Which is why I said like I did, because it still felt like it was still part of Toonami. It was just, okay, we're just going to shove it all the way to the back because of the massive drop we had. It's like, okay, I mean, why not have just done that in the first place? But that's
probably should have.
I mean, hindsight 2020. I think they just really wanted to push Jack like a lot because like it was new. They wanted to show it off. It's like, hey, this is Jack's.
They spent way more money on it too. They own it.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Which is understandable why they would want to do it. I think what caught me the most was like, okay, I know you want to mass promote this, that's fine. But they were doing it what? It was 8:30 and then 10:30 on Saturdays. I think it was like a Sunday, a Wednesday, and a Friday airing or something like that.
There was
Wednesdays.
They ran it on Wednesdays at 10:30.
Okay.
And then when the season was over, they played it on Sundays at 8 and 8:30 for a bit.
Okay, because I remember they kind of over milked it on other days, and it was just like, I get you like Jack, but think would be the best way I could think of it. It's like I would like my personal feeling was if they had pushed Jack back by like maybe 2 hours and kept it in the block, I still think Dragon Ball Super could have held a 1.2 total and maybe like a 850, 18 through 49. But that's me.
Yeah, maybe, but it doesn't really matter. The thing that really bothers me about this ratings conversation is because most of the X show should not be airing where it is or on the block at all. And I'm like, guys, really? It doesn't. It's fine if you don't like shows. It's totally fine. You don't have to watch them. You just don't use ratings as your reason for why a show is not good. Just don't do that. It's stupid. It doesn't matter.
I find my own reasons for why I hate shows.
I see YouTube comments and like everything, a lot of outbursts on like Twitter and whatnot. Like it feels like I'm seeing a lot of people are getting the impression that they're being forced to watch this show, like show X or whatever, when like in order to like they're thinking like if they don't watch this show in particular, Toonami's gonna get canceled. No, Toonami will not get canceled if you don't watch a particular show. That's it's not gonna happen.
No, the likelihood is progressively dropping.
No, I mean
you would have to have a major like. Heck, I don't even think if they reran Fooly Cooly Season 2 and they had another drop, it would really destroy the block. You might lose a half hour total, but...
Exactly.
They're on from 10:30 to 4 a.m. You think they're just going to cancel it out of nowhere?
Oh, absolutely.
I mean,
they have 7 premieres right now.
With 08, the writing was on the wall. This isn't the case at all. Like, Adult Swim... They love Toonami, like they want to. It's their priority to promote it, and like they're not out to like sabotage the block or anything. No, like they have every best intention of having the block succeed. So,
I dropped the call for a second, but
Yeah.
it sounded like Caboose was right, whatever he said.
I have no idea what happened, but I'm going to agree
Just-
with him.
I mean, when Jason or Gil or whenever they say something, just take their word for it. Like, it's not gonna.
I'm
Yeah,
fine.
they don't
but-
have reason to lie to you.
But they got
Exactly.
rid of One Piece. That's the
Oh,
reason
no.
to never believe them again.
Well, I could call an interesting thing
Oh,
when I
man.
got the questions from Jason back during that first Q&A after I spent like 2 hours trying to call in, which was the first question I had asked was how dim rain, because I'm going to be an asshole at that point. And he says it was just fine. And then the second question I got lucky enough to ask was, how long did you guys know about One Piece leaving the block before it actually happened? And Jason just straight up admitted, oh yeah, it had been failing for several years. So then my thought process, after that was like, well, wait a minute. Isn't that kind of a contradiction at that point? But
No.
No, things change.
Yeah.
That's the other thing. People always take one
mean-
statement that DeMarco makes at some point in his existence
Right.
as the truth forever, but that's not really how it works.
I mean,
If something
like,
was working 3 years ago, it might
Mhm.
not still be working. Or
True.
if something wasn't working 3 years ago, it might be working now. It's-
I mean, which I'm fine with. It's just that there are certain situations, at least to me, where it's like, okay, the ratings are just fine, and then this happens, and I kind of sit there and I'm just like, okay.
It was moved to 2:30 a.m. because the ratings weren't good enough. He even
Right,
said
right.
that way
Right.
back when. And
I
the
mean,
fact that they kept it there for 2 more years is astonishing. And it just goes to show how much they love One Piece. But eventually,
Oh yeah.
that love
Huh.
isn't enough. It's,
Yeah,
it's still
they-
gotta pull
They
an
need to bring
audience.
Tokyo Ghoul in.
ugh.
Or,
I mean,
you know,
as long as-
anything.
I mean,
That's the only
They
time
get
where my ratings obsession ever really gets to like a
And I
critical
still
level.
think it's not necessarily the ratings. It was probably a contract thing. Because, you know, Toei.
Yeah.
I don't think it was a contract thing. I think it was just like we really like the show, and as long as we can keep it, let's do it. And it, they
Yeah,
basically
I would agree.
Patience of Saints with that show. Because it, we all love One Piece pieces, but like it didn't. It would do okay in its time slot, and you would even win a bunch of times, but like it never pulled the numbers that other shows would do, and it was like,
always lagging after Naruto. I hate to
And then-
say it, but it was.
And then the other problem was that the show, it was competing with itself because a lot of One Piece fans kind of already moved on. Like they moved on to the streaming services and the DVD releases, and I remember when One Piece was first coming out, we were like, where do they start? Do they go from episode 1 and onwards, or do they pick up where they
Yeah.
left off, or do they?
Well, some people think they should have started episode 1.
Oh, I
Yeah.
just think they were trying to get vindication for the 4 Kids dub at that point. It's like, I didn't care where they started, but there was way too much of that bullcrap where it's like, started episode 1 because the 4 Kids dub sucks. I'm like, what does that matter?
My point is, though, like, where would they have started? Like, there's really no easy place to start because, like, even if they had, I think hindsight being 2020, probably the best place to have started, would have just been to whatever, maybe a couple of episodes behind whatever Funimation was currently at the time. Maybe do like a recap thing, do the dream arc, and then just skip. But yeah, it's really hard to with that show, like just to catch everybody up and also keep going.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
So, and
I don't know how
at that
Japan
point,
does it.
One Piece fans had like, I'm on the One Piece podcast every once in a while. Like, they're caught up with the show in Japan. Like, 99.9% of fans of that show are caught up with whatever's in Japan. So going back and watching reruns basically was just, it's not even for the novelty of the dub because they were behind the dub too. So, they were years behind the dub. Yeah, I don't think there was a winning battle with that one, and the fact that we got what was it like 3 years with One Piece, like
No, more like 4.
4 years with One Piece, like that's a huge accomplishment for that show, and shows how much they really love it.
I'm shocked Shippuden's still on the air.
It still does. It even beats
Naruto's a
the shows
persistent
ahead
little
of it.
bastard.
I think Naruto also has that nostalgia factor going for it as well.
Yes,
That,
absolutely.
like, people really still love.
That's the
shit out of
difference.
Naruto.
There just wasn't nostalgia for One Piece, like with Naruto, like with DBZ. There just wasn't nostalgia. If they threw Bleach on, it would do great.
Oh yeah, give me that Bleach.
We already had it.
I know.
Yeah,
It's
but
aired. It's done. Let it go.
what if they brought back Bleach when DBZ Kai ends?
I will smash my head into my table.
Isn't that what Paul wants?
I think he
What
considered
Darrell
it at
wants.
least.
Okay.
Well, if they
course
did like a
Darrell would want
Bleach
that.
final
Of
act,
course.
like where they finish the manga or whatever, like
Adult Swim
I'm-
should do that.
Ooh.
it would pull in a huge number. It would do
I would agree.
gangbusters.
Oh yeah, I would agree. If they did do something like that, yes, I would just prefer that they wait until, well, I guess with two of the other ones leaving at that point. I mean, maybe after Hunter x Hunter, but I guess that depends on if, when, where, how, and what the hell was going on at that point in time.
I do wonder if like is the Bleach manga still going, or is that over?
No,
No, it's not still going.
no,
It
it's not still
ended,
going.
and
It ended.
some folks are definitely not content with that ending.
Oh yeah, because the
Yeah.
whole shipping thing at the end of the I remember that now.
Okay. Well, hopefully we get a Bleach final act because like that would probably do gangbusters. People would tune into that.
Agreed.
And I mean, of course, it would probably be Viz would grab it, and then how Viz and Toonami are best buds right now. But yeah, I mean,
Everybody
with
wants to
Jason,
be Toonami's best bud.
yeah, Jason, like I can understand where you're coming from, Colt, like with the complete turnaround, because like I was asking, like I remember asking him, like I don't know, a few years back, it's like, what do you think of Team Fortress 2? And he's like, I dig it. And now he's like, I fucking hate cartoon shooters and whatnot. And then someone asked,
He
like,
hates
what do you
fun
think
shooters.
what do you think of TF2? And he's like, I fucking hate it. I'm like, that's not what you told me.
I can understand people's opinions will change in time. Or
Absolutely.
Aspects. Things will shift over the years. I guess my own, like, I guess even with the ratings obsession, I could all, to an extent, transferred into this, which would be my biggest problem, which is the lack of diversity anymore. And I'm almost curious if whether or not you would agree with me, if maybe that may also be a potential aspect to what's going on with the ratings. I mean, that's just me. I would appreciate at least something different than the same type of show over and over again, notwithstanding Gundam and Fooly Cooley. I don't count the reruns.
I don't know. I don't think. I think the lineup we have so far, with the exceptions of maybe Naruto, Hunter x Hunter, and Dragon Ball, it's pretty diverse. I mean, JoJo's like nothing else I've ever seen.
Absolutely.
Right. And I've, because there's I think someone asked me on Twitter a long time ago, like, out of all the long runners, which of the two would you keep? And I straight up said Hunter x Hunter and JoJo, because both of those are by far the most unique in how they present the same content.
So this
is someone's smoke detector going off?
Oh, that's my alarm. It just beeps. Sorry.
Oh,
It's not an actual smoke detector. I don't know how to make it stop beeping.
Put it under a pillow.
It's attached to a wall.
Okay, then never mind.
All right. Just making sure.
But this is a bit of a tangent on JoJo, but like, so Richard's a friend of mine, and I also know the actor for Abdul. He's a friend of Emma's. And the episode
Chris?
last Saturday, yeah, Chris. we watched that episode and we just had to text them like, "Oh my god!" And then thankfully, Richard and Chris had never met until we introduced them. So watching that episode was just like surreal. It was like, "Oh god, Chris is going down on Richard."
That's a good one.
That episode's so funny.
Yeah, it is.
I'm waiting.
It is.
I'm just counting down the weeks now till Darby shows up, and then Whole Horse and Boingo team up 2 weeks later.
Wow, that'll be freaking cool.
Spoilers.
Spoilers, man.
I mean,
I actually
spoilers,
haven't seen the show.
We know they're still alive.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are. That was a weird episode.
Oh, but again, that's what I like about the series compared to everything else, is that it's just got that unique presentation quality. And as I sit here and look at the block, I'm just like, I would just kill for something. I mean, even if you're gonna do it the action block thing, it's just like, I would like to see something like Parasite again, or Michiko and Hachin again. I mean, I get these are popular shows, but a part of me sits there and thinks like, would a unique, like, I gotta be hard to think, like would something that's not vastly different but still an action show potentially pull more ratings than just running the same thing over and over again?
So basically, you want Mad Bull 34.
Don't know what that is, but yes, sure.
It's
Megalobox.
Well, I mean, again, I strictly watch most of my anime through Toonami. I call that like half nostalgia from when I was a kid and half I'm broke and don't have the money to pay for that type of stuff. Unless
Toonami is like, hey, I'm in tonight, so I guess I'm watching.
But I mean, that's another aspect that I personally think can maybe shift it or maybe potentially have an effect on the ratings. Because when you're airing the same thing over and over again, because I could bring up the whole like the hour drop or the drop going from Dragon Ball, and I'm generally just curious if like maybe that has something to do with it, and what happens if like, you know, say like what replaces Kai depending on its uniqueness. Do you think it would actually be able to hold off of Super more?
Dragon Ball's Dragon Ball, man. Like
I know that's why that's why I'm bringing it up, because we know Kai is ending. So I'm sitting there kind of thinking like, okay, if we get something that's the same, do you think it'll be able to hold better, or if we get something that's like more like something different that could actually pull in the audience because of that, do you think that would help?
The answer is I don't know, but it's hard to say because Dragon Ball's Dragon Ball. You know, there's literally nothing like Dragon Ball. So, you know, nothing will ever be as popular as Dragon Ball. So no matter what you put, you're going to get a drop. You know. Okay,
would there be as less of a drop as there is now?
I don't know.
Maybe.
Maybe
depends.
Not.
I mean, they're fully willing to push
but...
Black Clover to later because they figure Fooly Cooly will do better. Or rather, Fooly Cooly is a higher priority. So I certainly think can do better. But I mean, we looked at how Attack on Titan Season 2 did after DBZ. We looked at how JoJo did after DBZ. Most things just aren't going to hold it very well. But I mean, we're looking at something like 600,000 as a small number, when in reality that's a huge number. Like,
well, right, and I'll agree. I'm just bringing up the potential of, given what the drop currently is, do you think that there might be a show that could work in that time spot that might actually hold better? Like, rather than just being the same thing.
One Punch did well.
Well,
yeah,
One Punch did very well after DBZ.
See, I would think the third season of Attack on Titan could do it, but I don't know. The second season didn't prove that. But I mean, I don't think
my
like
personal thing with Attack on Titan Season 2 was just like I felt like it wasn't advertised very well. Like it just seemed like
they couldn't really advertise it very well because they didn't have any materials.
They kind of rushed it.
So
I mean, they did a promo every week.
Yeah,
but the dub wasn't ready.
Right.
I also never. I'll be honest. I like never saw them. Like usually I see Toonami. I'm in Atlanta. I usually see Toonami advertising kind of everywhere, and I usually hear about that stuff. And I like nothing on Attack on Season. It felt very stealth, and it didn't feel like the big marketing push that it should have had. So, you know, if I have to be critical of Attack on Titan 2, I think the blame falls on just people not knowing about it.
I guess. I mean, if from what I remember, like when me and you were at the Cartoon Network store at the CNN Center, like they still had like Attack on Titan merch for sale.
Yeah, Attack on Titan is literally the only anime they sell at the CNN store.
It's so weird.
It's so weird. Yeah, they don't sell Dragon Ball Z. They don't sell Pokemon. It's all Attack on Titan. It's like,
Weird.
whoa, okay.
I guess actually, now that Jose brought it up, unless anyone else has anything to say, there's another process or thought with the ratings that I could bring up.
Go on.
Yeah,
I don't care. Go for it.
Well, because Jose mentioned the advertising thing, I've also been kind of curious as to at least what I would call the lack of advertising for the later shows.
Like,
well, just anything. I mean, if I've noticed anything, you rarely have ever see any. I mean, outside premieres and the lineups. I'm talking like the weekly stuff, or even to the rare extent the JoJo Egypt art promo. So like,
okay.
I honestly sit there and wonder, like, well, why didn't Hunter x Hunter get a Chimera Ant arc promo? I mean, I've heard a lot of people, at least within my limited Twitter sphere, like, no, this is a really good arc. And I'm like, and after having seen it, yes, it's a good arc. So I'm sitting there kind of wondering, like, wouldn't it behoove them to some extent to maybe try to push those later shows outside the lineup, and maybe try to get people to stay up later to watch them?
And heck, Shippuden never got its promo.
Yeah, I was about to mention that. Yeah, that never got its promo. But, you know, like, JoJo's is on early enough, just like One Piece, when it got its Water 7 promo, or was it?
Yeah, you're right.
Water 7.
Eni's Lobby.
No, it was Water 7.
No, it was Eni's
Water
Lobby.
7 got a promo.
No, it was Eni's Lobby. He's right.
Yeah, Eni's Lobby.
You sure?
Yeah, because it was right as they
just
were
after
going to do the
Water
big
7.
fight, and they were promoting as the, hey, we're going to save Robin thing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was Eni's Lobby.
It's
But,
right as they're storming Eni's lobby.
Okay.
So they, for those two exceptions, like, at the time, I think One Piece was on at, like, midnight or, like, 12:30. Like, that's probably
maybe 1
early
or
enough.
12.
Let me double
It
check.
was on
probably
at 12:30
early
very briefly.
That's probably early enough that you can justify advertising a show that late. But, like, I feel like Hunter x Hunter is on at 1 now.
30.
1:30.
1:30. Like, probably not worth the advertisement.
I mean, for like an arc promo, I think they should have done one for the Chimera Ant arc. Like,
yeah,
I'm not saying that Hunter x Hunter should
I'm not looking at like the.
It's still good.
I'm not looking for like the weekly super promo stuff. I'm just talking like once in a while. Okay.
Well, do Adult Swim in general advertise their shows that are on that late? Like,
if it's an original show, like they'll advertise Super Mansion. That's on at 1 a.m.
Super Mansion? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's on at 1 a.m.
Yeah,
I've seen them.
Remember, Adult Swim already doesn't have that many resources, and they have even less for Toonami.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, they'll advertise Super Mansion, which is like, is it a premiere now, or it's like in rerun?
No, it's still a rerun of Crackle.
Yeah, but like,
I
they
never
probably have
understood
enough
why they had that.
resources. They probably have enough resources to advertise that, but like Toonami, you know, we already know how small that crew is already,
Mm-hmm.
and they already don't have as many resources, and they're probably pushing most of them towards their original series, such as Cooley,
which is understandable. I just
don't think they have to make the decisions ultimately. Like, okay, we're gonna do this for JoJo's because we think it's worth it. Hunter x Hunter, we're really sorry, but you're just gonna have to pull your own weight.
I mean, I can understand that.
They only have so much promo time too. Eventually, you make too many promos, you dilute the value of each one.
Which I can understand. That I just kind of feel it weird that it's like 1 week, maybe 1 or 2 weeks, they couldn't just do like a single thing for some of those later shows. And I can understand the problem with it. I just feel that with the ratings context, it it would help.
You pick and choose your battles with the resources you have.
Yeah.
It's
Right.
not an exact
I'll agree.
science period.
I'll agree.
Like you'll just never, we can all armchair, but like they know what they have
Right.
resources for, and they will do what they feel is best.
I'm literally
and-
sitting in an armchair.
Yeah.
I wish I had an armchair.
It's a recliner.
Anybody else got anything they want to bring up?
I'm sitting on a bed.
Nice.
I was on a couch earlier, but I moved so I could get better reception.
I'm still wondering what he keeps teasing, like they're gonna push out
The
of the
3
box
shows?
a bit. Yeah.
I mean, they got 3
Wondering,
shows. I doubt they're counting Fully Cooley as one of them.
No, that
No,
doesn't
there's
count.
no
That's
way.
not an.
It'd be the replacement for Gundam, the replacement for Kai, and the replacement for JoJo.
Or a surprise.
Yeah.
Possibly a surprise too. Yeah, you are right there.
But maybe they'll replace Cowboy Bebop with a brand new show, because that would be.
I would not be against that.
I would not
Really?
be against it either, but
Yeah.
I mean,
A brand
3
new
a.m.
show or
premiere?
Like an old rerun
I don't mean
show?
brand new. Like,
just something
I mean,
they haven't aired
I-
before that late.
Yeah.
Maybe a rerun.
I've seen people asking like, put something new on at the last Air Hour. It'll give more incentive for people to watch it. Like, no,
No, not that.
that's not gonna. No, that's.
yeah,
Not everyone can stay up that late, and not everyone has DVR. If you want the show to do better, you have it on earlier. You can't just. We have the rerun hour for a reason, because it's just there.
That it's very late and
3 runs.
yeah,
It's at
They-
3
they-
a.m. Who cares?
They would rather actually,
Oh boy, 3
just
a.m.
keep that. They would rather just keep that that hour instead of just cutting it.
It's either anime reruns or comedy reruns. Take your pick.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's I don't know, if they could get their hands on like some really old shows that they could get for like dirt ass cheap, sure. But other than that,
Even
Sleep
then,
on
I
Ghost in
wouldn't
the
want them
Shell.
after 2:30.
Yeah.
I wouldn't care if it was like a cheap ass show that like nobody had heard of in years. Like,
oh yeah,
I think of
I would do
some-
that
that would
too.
be
Because I
fun.
mean,
some
I typically stopped watching the block after Toonami until Outlaw Star came back. I'm like, yeah, sure, I'll rewatch it. I'll stay up that extra
Some,
half
like,
an hour.
some like ratty ass like discotheque library show. Like if they could get one of those, like why not and rerun it? Why not? Like
Hey, they wanted to get Magic Knight Rayearth back in the day.
well, I didn't know that. Well, we have it in good old HD, and we don't have the broadcasting rights. But if they came to us, we would set that up. Yeah, but like I'm sure if we got a deal on the broadcast rights for it, and we could get it on Toonami at like some ratty ass hour, and they wouldn't pay us very much, I'd be like, that probably sounds like a good idea.
Yeah.
But it can't. But they can't. They're not gonna. We're not gonna give them. Lupin Part 5, because that is potentially a crown jewel for Discotheque if they're the ones who get the license. So that's gonna be a different thing. But like one of the old shows at Discotheque and even Sentai tend to specialize in, Dominion Tank Police. Like, why not? It's an HD, I think. Like, pick it up.
Yeah,
Who knows?
I'm all for them getting a bunch of cheap shows and throwing them on late at night. That'd be fun.
I
Yeah.
would agree. I wouldn't even care if it was old 4-3 with the black columns on it. I mean, that's how they did Dragon
Outlaw
Ball Kai
Star.
for a while. Yeah, Outlaw
That's-
Star and DBZ Kai, wasn't it, for a while, I think?
Yeah.
Cowboy Bebop.
And Cowboy Bebop, and it'll have to now. Fully Cooley season 1 will have to be that.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
So I actually did check on those masters. They're definitely the new upscale, but they're not from Funimation. They're from Production IG. So
Okay.
that's pretty neat.
Sweet. That's cool. HD fully.
Yeah, because I was curious. I was like, oh man, I guess we're not going to get the kanji from Right on Shooting Star anymore. And I'm like, nope, kanji's there. All right.
And so yeah.
I think Fully Cooley should be on at the front of the block, but that's just me.
I could see that for season 2 and the premieres for season 2, season 3, not for the season 1 reruns.
But they've already announced 11:30
Yeah.
for season 2 and 3.
Dragon Ball is so pop. Unless they were to add a time slot to Toonami, like I don't think
Yeah.
anything before Dragon Ball. Unless it's Samurai
But like
Jack.
they put Jack on before Dragon Ball. Yeah.
I think that was because they knew Jack was a very popular franchise, and while I get that there is a fan base for Fooly Cooly, it's nowhere near the level of what Jack was. And I think that's what they knew about was Jack was one of those ones where it had such a popularity around it. When they got season 5, they were like, "Yeah, we can't put this in front of Dragon Ball because we know it's gonna do well."
And also, like, Samurai Jack definitely had more resources for advertising than a typical Toonami show. They had basically full Adult Swim resources. And I think Fooly Cooly is not going to get full Adult Swim resources.
Actually, Jason has said that Fooly Cooly's getting a marketing campaign and premiums.
Yeah, he did.
Oh, never mind.
Yeah.
So you will see Fooly Cooly billboards.
Yeah.
Oh. Awesome.
He did say that.
Yeah.
It was a network priority, I believe, is how he answered the question.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Which is, again, part of where my worry about if they do the reruns right after the originals is coming from. But we've already gone into that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, but I think they just know that Dragon Ball is going to be such a good lead-in.
Right.
If they were to get another half hour, I'm sure they would have put Fooly Cooly up front. But I think with the time slot the way it is, and with Dragon Ball pulling the numbers that it's pulling, like it's hard to move it, because if you move it, there's a potential loss of audience.
Yeah,
and people having to reset DVRs and all that, and so it's like, no, it pulls a really good number, can't move it.
Yeah, I mean they've moved it twice, but I know Dragon Ball Super makes those DVR charts very frequently now.
That is an interesting thing to me.
I'm very surprised. I'm
very surprised at the L+3s, with it being like 40 upwards of 75% increase in overall demo rate. Even I'm just like, wow, either no one's awake on a Saturday night, or y'all go to. I'm surprised by that.
Mm-hmm.
No, we all go out. That's the thing. I mean, Saturday night is usually a night we go out. Or like, to parties or clubs or bars or whatever. So, DVR is even more important for Toonami on Saturday nights, I think, sometimes. I usually don't watch anything until the next morning, honestly.
And this is an interesting question now that we go into the DVR thing. Like, given the way the technology has been shifting toward that stuff, like, if at all, my English is failing.
Talk.
How much of a higher importance do things like L3 and L7 do compared to something like L plus SD anymore, if I'm saying these things right?
Well, I know Fox, when they tout ratings, they always tout the L3. I mean, they've wanted to track these numbers ever since VCRs came into existence. So, like, just for someone who just likes to observe and see what people are watching and when, I would prefer to know every single person who is watching, regardless of how.
Right. Which makes sense.
Because I get, like, truth is, most of the games are made in L3. L3 to L7, there is very little that adds on to that.
The reason why there's always the big emphasis on live is because you cannot skip the ads.
Yeah, correct.
So that's always going to be like the big number.
Yeah. That's why they also have commercial only ratings that also include DVRs.
Yeah.
But but those jump very little compared to.
I don't know about you guys, but I tend to, even when I'm watching my DVR, I tend to forget to skip the commercials. Like, I always just watch.
I do it half and half. It depends on if I'm doing something else on my phone. Sometimes I will just let the commercials play through and not worry about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of like forget that I'm like, oh yeah, I am watching JoJo's right now, and like, but it's 2:00 in the afternoon. I totally forgot that I DVR'd this, and I just watch them through. And also part of it is like I like the Toonami bumps packaging.
Yeah, I like the bumps.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like, what's this? The latest cable top 25 chart has Dragon Ball Super in 24th place. It only gained 40% this time, but
wasn't it 2 weeks ago? It wasn't it like 2 weeks ago? It was like 19th with like a 75.
It was, yeah, it did pretty well. It did like 70%. Got up to like a 0.7. It usually gets up to a 0.8. But yeah, it always shocks me like how people DVR like college basketball. So like, don't tell me who wins. I haven't watched the game yet.
Hey, people do that. People.
Yeah, you're right.
I have
people DVR the State of the Union address. People DVR debates.
That is a little weird to me, but I guess I shouldn't complain because we broadcast those at CNN.
Yeah.
The people who are usually the people who are DVRing the State of the Union are journalists, so they can go back through it. But no, in all seriousness, though, like, you know, sometimes people just want to have the experience of watching stuff on their own time, and you know, even if you know it's a live event, like the Super Bowl, let's say, like people want to be able to like have that experience of being able to just watch it all through. Granted, I wish DVRs in general were a little smarter, because, you know, if it's something like the Super Bowl, I always feel like I have to record like the entire night just to be sure I got the whole thing.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I get what you're at.
Yeah, because, you know, Oscars or whatever will never run on time, and your recording will end.
Yeah.
That's always annoying. So, you know, that type of stuff, I wish DVRs would smart adapt. Hulu's apparently did adapt, because it was the only one that showed Fooly Cooley 2 in its guide.
Yeah.
That was interesting, because I was kind of sitting there just going like, okay, it's April Fool's. I would be very shocked if they did this. Oh, hey, it's all one song. I'm like, huh? Okay, I'm a little confused as to why. I guess you had the opportunity, but okay. Interesting as it was, but I'm not going to judge it based on the one episode I've seen.
Yeah, and it's season 3, so we're not going to see it until September.
That part confused me more. I honestly would have paid it to be progressive episode 1, and it's just like, okay.
Yeah, they did that at the convention.
Wasn't done.
Nope.
Which is fine. It's just surprising, but because again, then I'm just sitting there going like, okay, and how long is it going to be, and time. Because I ended up checking it like that next morning, and yep, lo and behold, it was already on said anime sites. You know, quotes like that is what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
So, someone in the chat has been suggesting that a subscription service for Toonami would basically save the block.
Oh boy, another subscription service.
Yeah, I mean,
hey, can I point something out real fast?
Go for
You
it.
already subscribe to Toonami. You pay your cable bill.
Yeah.
Good
point.
If you have a cable subscription and or an over the top set like DirecTV Now or Sling, you pay your cable bill. You are a subscriber to Toonami. Welcome.
But let's go with what they're likely trying to go with.
Look, I don't think Toonami as a platform should be its own streaming service. But,
no, that'd be killed.
Yeah, that'd be stupid.
But Adult Swim, if they made a subscription to just Adult Swim content, I think that would do well. And I think it's something that they should consider sooner than later.
Mm-hmm.
I honestly would hope if they did do something like that and it did do well, mind you, with the advent of things like Netflix and Hulu, it would be kind of nice to see something like the Jetstream come back. Maybe not in like the big form it was, but maybe just like one or two older shows that you wouldn't normally see on like those services getting a little bit of a spotlight. But that's like a huge unlikeliness.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've been telling him to put a GPX on streaming for years now, and nobody listens to me. So it's probably not going to happen.
Are they even allowed to do that? I wasn't entirely sure.
They have the
digital
rights. They have
Oh, wow.
like Japan
Huh.
is very adamant
Yeah.
about it. Cartoon Network has the digital rights to the show, so
They were uploading Space Dandy for weeks, and they just stopped. I don't know what happened there. It's actually all of Space Dandy is available on my cable on demand.
yeah, it's so weird how like some of that stuff works because like I think it's not even like Adult Swim doing it. Sometimes it's just like, oh, here's what's supposed to be running, and then like the cable company will be like, I forgot to take the episode down. I'm sure it's fine. So who knows? Maybe it is supposed to all be up. I have no idea. But you know, the streaming service for Toonami is a terrible idea because they get killed by Crunchyroll. They get killed by Funimation. They get killed by Verve, Netflix, and everybody. The strength of Toonami is being small and being curated and being something special on a linear television network so that it can surprise you with stuff like the April Fool's joke. You can be spontaneous with that. You can't do that on Netflix. That's a big advantage. So, you know, I think in general, like Adult Swim and CNN and Turner's and basically most cable networks, we're all, you know, I think the era of networks like, I'm trying not to call out any of our own networks or say anything bad about a rival, but like NASA has a network, for example. Like you guys, they have a cable channel. I bet you it's buried somewhere in the thousands. Nobody knows about it. But like that type of network is not going to be included on Sling TV. You know, they're probably just going to be like, what are the big networks that people watch? Your FX, your TBS, your TNT, Arch Network, so on and so forth. And those are going to be the networks. Those are going to be the networks we want to sell to people and give that to you at a low price. And I think that'll be where Toonami basically lives. In its own, you know, I said it earlier, I think cable and streaming, or cable and satellite, the technology to deliver linear television will probably go away, but the degree of linear television, that curated content, that spontaneity of things like Turner Classic Movies is not going to go away because of services like Sling and so on.
Yeah, I paid $10 a month for DirecTV now.
Yeah,
it's because I get a discount with having an AT&T as my phone provider, though.
Yeah, and if you wanted to at any time, you're like, you know what, I'm not watching that much TV this month. Turn it off, and then whenever you want, you can turn it back on because there's no contracts. And I think people are going to respond like they do to Netflix and Hulu and all those places, just the same way. Where it's like, I'm not watching this that much this month. I'll turn it off, turn it back on.
It's like every Game of Thrones fan, when Game of Thrones isn't on, just cancels HBO. Yeah, because AT&T throws in HBO with my package. I don't pay shit for it.
Yeah, I have free HBO, I think, until this month. It finally expires, but I'm never getting rid of HBO. There's too many shows I like. So, and I can't wait to see Fahrenheit 451. That, if you haven't seen that trailer, that thing looks awesome.
I still have to see the Andre the Giant documentary.
Oh, it's so good. Anyways, sorry, we got so sidetracked.
Tangents again. We've been doing well so far.
It is really good, but yeah, no Toonami streaming service, I don't think. Because, like, what would they offer? Like, I can't think of anything they would offer.
My only hope is if they did offer stuff, it'd be like a very small amount of shows that you wouldn't have normally seen on even the major ones, like the really old stuff. But that's me.
Yeah, that's Discotheque specialty, and we kind of throw everything on Crunchyroll. So again, what would you get?
I mean, the market is on Crunchyroll. I mean, you're not really going to see much on a Toonami service.
Yeah, you know, High Dive is its own thing, and basically they're using one show to sell all their shows, which is Legend of the Galactic Heroes. Toonami's not in the business of, for the most part, creating content. They're in the business of acquisitioning and acquiring it. So, you know, they would have to just very much move more than they already are into original programming if we really wanted to see a Toonami streaming service, which
Yeah.
I don't think it's worth it for the amount of
Like-
overhead that it would cost.
If they could partner with an anime distributor, that would be something. But the anime distributors don't really have a reason to do that. They have their own services. And
Yeah.
if they're not using their own services, they're using Hulu and Amazon and Netflix, which have a way wider spread. It's just the way it is.
Mm-hmm.
And way more money, to be blunt. Like, they have way more money to spend than
Oh, yeah.
little old Toonami. So
Yeah. That's definitely a major thing.
Mhm.
Just how many bags of money can we throw at something? And
yeah,
we have a few, but not nearly as much as what they have. Again, I'm still surprised they're doing Fully Cooley 2 and 3, because even I'm just
Yeah.
like, wow, how long did you have those bags of money in the back?
Mhm.
well, I mean, it's not just bags of money for Adult Swim. I think it's more than just bags of money, because Adult Swim period does not have bags of money. What they want to do is they want to do real good, passionate projects, which is why Samurai Jack came about. Which is, they were and
Right.
with the Fully Cooley, they were asking for years to do a sequel to Fully Cooley, and then when the opportunity finally came, because they had been asking for it so long, they were basically the first production IG went to them immediately. It was like, "Are you on board?" And
They
I
immediately
think
jumped through the phone and said yes, while shaking the poor man's neck.
with Fully Cooley, or sorry, with Toonami has developed a lot of relationships with studios overseas. So I think that they'll use those relationships more to an advantage than just monetary, because like Netflix, I'm sure they've developed relationships by now, but they are mostly, we're going to throw money and that's it. Adult Swim is very much, we want to build a relationship, we want to do something special. We want to. So there are different approaches. Neither one is really better than the other, as long as everybody gets paid.
Yeah.
Right. I just like the
but-
metaphor.
It's just not. Toonami can't do that and run a streaming service. Like, that's way too much overhead, and I don't think they'd have enough to offer, at least not at launch, to justify it.
Right. I would agree.
I mean, folks are still asking for a Toonami channel, and well,
Not happening,
ship
folks.
look at the. Yeah.
I mean, I honestly don't even like how long the current block is. I'd rather dunk it down by an hour, maybe, but that's me.
I mean, I'd be.
I don't. So go ahead.
I mean, I'd be totally fine with just getting rid of that last hour. I mean, we don't really
3.
need rerun. Yeah, we don't really need reruns, but I mean, they're good. They're nice.
I'd love to go to 6 a.m. If we could run like old raggedy shit,
Oof.
which would be kind of neat. But like, yeah, again, Toonami for the most part, makes its money up until 2 a.m.
I mean, I would
say.
I would
I'd
love
usually
it
say it's
if
around
they
132.
I would love it if they could just infinitely rerun Space Dandy forever and ever. Just turn it.
Yeah.
Just make it the new Cowboy Bebop.
Boner.
Just
Nah.
keep it. Just keep Dandy.
I'm on board with that. Keep Dandy. I'm looking at Space Dandy right now. He's on my shelf.
I mean, come on now. How can you ever not watch enough Space Dandy? It's like,
Yeah.
I mean, it's just a show that you can throw on anytime and enjoy. It's just
They don't
silly,
even have to
fun,
play it in
sometimes
order,
thought-provoking.
really.
Yeah.
No, they
Yeah,
don't.
can play it
with the
in
way
any
it's
order.
set, yeah, with the way it's set up, I didn't even like season 1 until episode 4 with the 4D girlfriend, and they finally got around to explaining what warping was, and then I'm just like, God damn it, that's both ingenious and it makes complete sense. And
That's
it
season 2.
Right, but
Season 2.
all of season 1, I was just sitting there going like, what's the point with all this? And then they finally make that, I'm like, okay, now I like the show. A bit late, but okay.
Okay, so to clarify it's Rogue Tom in the chat. This is what he's saying. Having both cable television and an online subscription service on their website would help Toonami greatly.
No, it wouldn't.
No, it wouldn't.
Why? Again, what is the purpose of an online subscription?
No,
And-
it's I don't think he's saying like a Toonami streaming service. He's saying just they have the ability to either subscribe to cable or subscribe directly to Adult Swim.
You can subscribe directly to Adult Swim by buying cable.
But
I think what he's saying
other
is
stuff is paying like you can subscribe directly to HBO, that kind of thing.
I think with the cable networks specifically, part of the reason we bundle all this stuff together is because it's actually cheaper for consumers than it is to just buy separately. Because everybody says, "Oh, I only watch one thing," and it's like, okay, we're kind of proving that's not true because people are subscribing to Crunchyroll, to Netflix, to Hulu, to all this stuff, and all these subscriptions start adding up to the point where it's like, oh, I should just get a cable subscription because I'd have the same amount of content. So no, I don't think that would help. I think it's pretty much the same point as buying a cable subscription or buying a subscription to one of the over-the-top services. It's not going to do anything different. It'll be about the same. It's not going to solve any problems. It probably will create more.
I guess I would be curious if there would be any way for them to make additional revenue that would help beyond merchandising. I don't think there is. Like a streaming service wouldn't work in that situation.
I think merchandising probably would be more successful.
Yeah. If they had something that they could merchandise, which they could do if they licensed an anime directly or they co-produced it. But that costs mucho dollars.
Right.
Well, FLC or Fully Cooley is a co-production. So
yeah, and they are going to make merch. They said
they're going to pimp the hell out of it.
Make lots of merch.
But there's way less overhead than making merch than there is to running a streaming service. Like, that is a really costly. I don't think people understand how much that actually costs to do, and it's ridiculous amount of money. Like, the reason Netflix is so good is because they spent a ridiculous amount of manpower and money and years to make sure that when you sign up for the internet, they have what's called a Netflix distribution box in everybody's internet centers, so that when you subscribe to Netflix, you can literally acquire the movie that's in their library from a very close location. The way it is at Adult Swim right now, or for Turner for the most part, like, we don't have that many things. You are streaming basically everything from Atlanta. So to have anything near the quality of Netflix or YouTube or anything like that, we would have to build out that network to be even bigger. And that's a ridiculous, hugely expensive thing. We can do it on a smaller scale, but to scale up to Netflix or even probably Crunchyroll is like,
and Crunchyroll crashes whenever there's a new Dragon Ball Super.
True.
So even they're not even doing that well. So imagine Toonami. Yeah, because
I remember Luke Cage of all things crashed Netflix when that came out.
Yeah.
Even HBO like still struggles when Game of Thrones comes out.
I mean, all the the Sling and the DirecTV Now services and all that stuff, like, they crash during huge events like the Super Bowl or the Oscars or whatever.
So that's where everyone was watching the Oscars.
Yeah, so everyone likes to say streaming's a solution. It's like, not really. Like, you're taking the very expensive form of television that we've already invested a ton of money in and changing it to something else that's going to cost even more money.
But when AT&T buys y'all out,
if
they do.
And if there's no decision, either company can walk away from the deal. So who knows?
This is quite the will they, won't they, isn't it?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure if AT&T does, then maybe that would be better time, maybe that would be a more easily suggestible proposition. But I'd still really kind of doubt it, because it doesn't seem like they would be able to offer anything new or different than what they do currently on television, and they have that advantage. That's why they're Toonami and not Crunchyroll.
I think we covered a lot of ground.
Stars.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't think there's much left we can talk about.
Yeah, so.
Good timing. I gotta go.
Hey, all right, perfect way to end it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Fun
yeah.
talking with you guys.
Oh,
it
yeah,
was,
definitely.
it
It's
was
been a while.
great fun. I think we should do these.
I hope I didn't say anything that got me in trouble. So
Oh,
I doubt
not
it.
very
either.
careful not to curse.
Nah. I think we should do these conversations more often. Like, it's good to talk to you guys because you guys
It's
have
good
some
to just
really
talk
good
to you guys. I
insight.
don't know if I can join these.
Yeah. I mean, I would say like these fine folks pretty much just said what's on my mind, like for me.
It helps to have
So,
other people rather
it
than
does.
trying to clarify yourself.
Yeah, because I've seen YouTube videos like they should do this and no.
You know who
But-
could fix everything? Me.
Me. I challenge that person. I want you to build the better cartoon show.
Mhm.
Do it.
With no resources.
I was
Yeah,
gonna say,
yeah.
are we talking hypothetically or actually?
Actually, do it. I want you to do it. Go for it.
With no scope of what resources it would take to actually do so. You do it.
There's the challenge, ladies and gentlemen.
The fine
Yeah.
folks at William Street, they're doing a fine job.
Hmm.
You need to take it.
The folks over at
Calm
the
down.
BS building.
The BS.
Yeah, did you see that? It's
Oh,
only a
yeah.
BS right now.
Yeah, they're finally taking that down, huh?
I don't know if they're taking it down and just like cleaning it up, or if they're going to put something else there. I don't know.
Just put the
We'd have
Adult
to ask
Swim
somebody at
logo
Wall
up.
Street. I think they're going to put, if they're going to put up anything, I think it's going to be William Street,
Ah.
maybe WSP.
Mm-hmm. Whiskey.
That's my hypothesis. I actually have no confirmation of what they're doing.
Mm-hmm. All right.
So, yeah, so let's wrap this up. Jose, where can they find you?
Sure. This is so familiar.
I know.
If you want to tweet at me, my Twitter is @Jose_CNN. To be blunt, though, I don't very much talk about Toonami, and I'm very careful with that account, so I might not respond to you. But if you're polite and you ask your question very politely, I can answer it. I'm very happy to strike up a conversation.
Corey, where can they find you?
Oh, I'll be around. I don't want to plug
All right.
anything.
That's all right. How about you, Colt?
You can find me on Twitter at Ambient Virus and Twitch at twitch.tv/LifeVirus.
And the lovely Sketch.
Oh, why thank you. You
Oh.
can find me on Twitter at Sketch1984.
And you can find me, Caboose Jr., pretty much everywhere. Twitter, YouTube, Tumblr. Hey, I'm on YouTube right now. How about that?
How about that?
Yeah. So thanks for listening to our thoughts. I'd like to do this more often. It's fun having you guys here. So thanks for tuning in. I'm out. We are out.